Oh,
Okay.
did we get it? Yeah, we got it. Okay, welcome everyone to Paranormal Talk. Sorry, we almost got thrown off of Facebook. I had to throw us all in real quick. Just if you don't get on time with Facebook, they kick you. And since we got 5 Facebook pages, we like to be there and saying hi to everyone. But tonight it's Paranormal Talk. We're going to be talking about sleep paralysis and what it can be besides just being stuck in your bed like. I had a friend of mine that used to get sleep. His wife used to crack me up. She call me in the middle of the night. There's something wrong with Michael. I said, why? He's not moving. He's barely even breathing. And I'm pushing it. I said, just hold his nose and his mouth shut for a minute. He woke up every time too, like, I will kill you. He said, why did you do that? She goes, Joe told me that's why I wake you up. And he wakes you up every time. I said, yeah, he cuts off his oxygen. His brain kicks in like that. But actually, a psychiatrist told me that. A friend of ours who works with some of our contactees, he's the one who told me that. He said, yeah. He said, because if it's an alien, they probably won't wake up. He said, they'll probably stay asleep, suffocate their ass if you ain't careful. He said, but if it's just regular sleep paralysis, they'll be up in less than 30 seconds. And so far, it's worked every time.
Wow.
We're not encouraging people to hold their spouse's nose and mouth shut. Okay, this is clinical stuff,
Hello.
people. That's right. Let's not get crazy here. Well, what was I reading yesterday? So this guy, this had nothing to do with our topic, but this guy, hey Sean, if you drop, I'll drop you in a pop in here if either one of you Sean's want to jump in the queue, feel free. So, so this guy says his wife drowned. She just hit a rock and drowned. So he said he brought the dog up to the thing, or the kid, or whatever, and then he burned the corpse right then and there because he was so freaked out. He cremated her on the property so he could bury it there. So I'm thinking, now they can't put him in jail because they can't prove he did it. They cannot prove that he did this in any shape, form, or fashion. So he's going to walk, whether he killed her or not killed her. This dude's going to walk because there's no evidence, nothing to say he drowned her. So it was just a thing that it was just a thing to say that he drowned her. It was just so weird that it happened that way. I was like, wow, and he got away with this. Just gives me ideas for the future. I'm just saying, ain't my host give me any shit? Now I drown y'all. I was like, oh, I had to burn cremated real quick.
Oh my God.
Talking about sleep paralysis, huh? Sleeping what it did. It just freaked me up. Yeah, anybody who's in the chat that's currently in the chat, y'all can join us if you like. Lee, I see your mic's up, but I'll drop you in when it comes on. But anyway, getting down to the topic tonight, we're going to be talking about sleep paralysis, ladies and gentlemen, and in a kind of a serious way, because sleep paralysis, sometimes people think it's alien abduction. Sometimes they think it's demons sucking the breath out of you. In the old days, they wouldn't let a cat around a crib because they said the crib could suck the breath out of a baby. It's not exactly true. It's true in the fact that a kid can't suffocate a baby. It's not exactly
A
true that
cat.
they're sucking the breath out of the kid.
A
But
cat, you mean?
yeah, cat, kitty cat.
You're saying crib.
Did I say
Cribs are
crib?
made for
Okay.
babies.
Okay, sorry. We're talking about.
Yeah, if the crib is
Oh,
doing
I'll
that,
send
it
it
was
to you.
not a
No,
good
I'll
one.
send it to you. Let me find Facebook and I'll send it to you right quick. Hey, Shawnee at. It's been a little strange lately though. Some of the weird shit people tell me sometimes. I'm like, really? We got on crack. I mean, really, it makes me think a lot of people are on crack. I gotta be honest with you. And okay,
Probably some of the people that we know, yeah.
Oh, I don't doubt some of the people we know. Well, in the old days, I used to have to get on a host all the time for getting effed up. More hosts got fired off this network for being effed up than anything else.
Wow.
I mean,
That's
so
scary.
so I come in one Friday night. We're doing a show, right? 3 of the hosts are just blitz. So I said, well, we'll just change the name of the show to "Effed Up Host" is what we're going to call it because you couldn't do a real show. They were either giggling, laughing, or other things that we don't even want to talk about. And then so what I did is I did the show, and then I sent them each one a copy of it. And all I heard was for a week was, "I'm sorry, Joe. I'm sorry, Joe. I'm sorry, Joe. Am I fired? Am I fired? Am I fired?" Hey, Sean, how you doing? Leah, let me know when you want it, baby. I'll drop you
Hey,
in.
Sean.
It's just been strange. The whole thing's been a little bit weird. And the other Chasing Truth, Sean, when you're ready, just let me know. I'll drop you in too. It's been a strange ride. When I first got in ufology, that's all I heard was sleep paralysis, Joe. Sleep paralysis. So I launched a big study into how many people get abducted at night versus the daylight or afternoon. Come to find out, the most alien abductions really happen like midday till 7 or 8 in the afternoon. So no, there's no sleep paralysis there unless they're passing out at work, taking a siesta, something like that. It's not sleep paralysis. And I'm not saying that a lot of other cases at nighttime may not be sleep paralysis. They may. But when you regress somebody and all those memories are there, it's hard to blame it on sleep paralysis. But still, it's there. And it is a clinical thing. People tell me sleep paralysis is not real. And I go, really? Have you ever took your time to read a little bit? I said, look, just type in sleep paralysis and see what comes up. And majority of people won't even take the time to type in sleep paralysis to see what the hell it is. It's just kind of crazy all the way around.
Well, it is real, and but also at the same time, it's also there are paranormal instances of what people think is sleep paralysis, but it's really not. And after we get started, I got some cool stories about that. So
I just don't know why it seems to be so hard for people in general to realize that there are things that go on in the world that don't fit into the little square box that we all want to live in. First off, I don't like boxes. I like round things, cubes, something with something not real. Just something.
Did you say boobs?
I like them. I can't even say I can like those. But boobs
that's
are
a little
round,
bold.
kind of squishy and round. But still, hey, this is not this. Our station is rated at least PG-17. So, well, actually, technically, no, because of YouTube, it's rated 18 and over. Actually, so children, if y'all listen to this, go get some earplugs and stuff them in your. The ones you use for swimming. Go stuff them in your ear. Y'all can't be listening to this now. It might get a little crazy tonight. So. I want your mama calling me. Were you talking about boobs in front of my son and daughter? No, I didn't know they were even there. How was I supposed to know that?
It wasn't me. It was Michael.
They were going to blame it all on Michael.
It's all. I'm a very natural person. It's always nature with me.
Wait, Dell's not here, so we can blame Dell. It's all Dell's fault.
Dell.
We're blaming Dell. It's
not here
Dell,
to defend
that's
well,
all your fault.
He's a milkman now. He's like doing the milkman thing. So boobs, like milk and boobs, right, hand in hand. I'm talking about cows. Cow milk. He's not milking anything else there. I'm talking about cow milk.
Well, they don't have boobs in, but they got udders, man. That's a whole different thing. To be honest.
There was a lot of udder talk earlier.
We gotta get out of this conversation I don't know. We just gotta get out of this conversation.
It's utterly ridiculous.
What I'm saying is, we're let Michelle take over so y'all can all introduce yourself.
Yeah, let Michelle take over.
Anyway, I'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, please stay tuned until I come back. We're gonna let somebody that's coherent take over for a moment.
Exactly.
Thank you.
And we're not even drunk.
Okay, with that being said, officially, welcome to Paranormal Talk. We are broadcasting live here on the International Public Radio on United Public Radio Network and 105.3 FM in New Orleans. In order to participate in tonight's show, because I know a lot of people were actually commenting on some of the advertising that we all put up. So please preferably go into YouTube on UFO Paranormal Radio, or UFO Gods and Extraterrestrials would be able to respond to you a little quicker, but we will see all your comments here in chat. So aside from those two YouTube channels, we are on the International Community for Alien Research on, I believe, Facebook, News on the Flip Side, Joe Montaldo, UFO Undercover. We are also on Twitch. So please feel free to put your comments in, and we will be able to answer them as we go along, and all of the hosts will be able to see them. So if you have a question for any of us independently, please just address it to who you want us to answer. How about that? So, okay, everybody go. Of course, Amelia and I, everybody knows us.
If you don't, oh boy, you haven't been here.
Right. I'm here every freaking week.
So, Michelle's here every night.
Yeah. So, okay. So, Amelia, my little bubbly co-host on the Outer Realm. Sean, go.
Hi, Sean. One of the hosts on Chasing
Okay.
Thursday nights at 7 on this station, and I'm kind of lucky. I got the girls here. So.
There we go.
And Mike.
And Mike, just throwing that in there. He's there too.
Good to see you, Sean.
Yeah.
And Michael.
Yeah. Me. Discovery Paranormal every Tuesday night, 8 p.m. All things paranormal, the science of the paranormal. And also the Red Pill News every Thursday, 8 p.m., talking about everything that is real in this world. Red Pill News, Red Pill News. Take the Red Pill. The Red Pill News every Thursday, 8 p.m., talking about everything that is real in this world. That's weird. News. Take the Red Pill.
Somebody's got their
thing open.
Their speaker.
I like hearing myself. But
and how about Leah? Want to introduce yourself also?
Here we go.
Hello. Can you hear
Hello.
me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
I'm Leah. I'm a friend. I don't know. I think I'm just one of Joe's friends. This has happened to me before. I've been on the show before. I've had experiences with UFOs. And I like ET experiences. So I don't know.
Okay.
I'm here to listen and give
Nope.
my 2 cents, I guess.
I like
Thank
it.
you.
I like it.
Don't be so modest. She used to co-host with me, but anyway, we'll go
There
on.
we go. And lastly, Sean G.
Sorry about that before the loop thing there. I
That's
popped
okay.
on. So,
And just introduce yourself to everybody.
well, okay. I'm Sean G with Chasing the Truth. I'm on Saturday night, 7 to 9 p.m. Central. I do unscreened open lines for the paranormal, and
Good shows too.
it
Nice.
does get interesting. It does get interesting.
It gets
Welcome,
a little
welcome.
strange.
And back
So-
to Joe, our fearless leader.
Yes, yeah. Well, y'all, if you look, people, if y'all listen to this network, you know who I am. Shame the hell on you is all I got to say. Lord, I've been on radio longer than most of y'all been alive. Damn. Y'all can't tell anybody that though. Okay, we can't be telling these young women that. But anyway,
So we've already got comments in chat. If anybody wants to address it, Robbie Knight says he feels like he's being tormented when it happens, when he gets sleep paralysis. And Margaret Wallace says a neurologist called my problem of sleep paralysis was when I went onto REM and I'd be locked into a plexiglass casket for 2 minutes. And I couldn't stop this, so the doctor blocked my REM by RX, and it worked for her.
My prescription. Wow.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah,
That's
sometimes
interesting.
drugs are
that's
the
the
thing.
first. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of drugs, but hey, sometimes drugs work. I can't
It
hate.
gives you sleep.
It's, what they got me on right now for this damn nerve I got. It's potent, man. I'm just now getting used to it. Hell, for a while I was worried about damn driving around and all. Yeah, I got try what's it called? Damn, I can't ever say the damn thing. Near I still can't say it. You think by now I learned how to say this damn disease. Anyway, it's a nerve in the side of your head that connects to your eye, both your jaws, some of your teeth, and your ear. And when you read about it, first thing it says, first sentence, it just says excruciating pain. And let me tell you what, it makes a wisdom tooth or an abscess like child's play. I've never experienced any kind of pain like that. I've had broken arms, things get yanked out, abscess. Nah, nothing comes close to this. It just nothing does. It's a very different kind of pain because it spreads across so many things. But it's like anything else in the world. After enough time, it kind of dulls down a little bit. So we're going to see where all of that goes. But it hasn't caused any sleep paralysis. And I got to say, for me, the red pill, because Michael's got the red pill news, because they give me these little red pills. They say they're for migraines, insomnia, and of course, if you're crazy. So really, it fits all three for me because I'm crazy. I have insomnia and I can't sleep. So I know the first time I asked the doctor about sleep paralysis, he said, Joe, you sleep 5 to 6 hours a night. You're never going to get sleep paralysis. He said it's for people who are coming from one stage to the other stage of sleep, and which I understand that, but I guess I've never experienced anything like sleep paralysis. Alien abduction, freeze you in place while you're awake, that's different. But, sleep paralysis for the most part is that moment or that few moments between waking up and waking up. So you're sort of awake, but you're not really awake. So you feel just stuck. I mean, we're going to scroll through them up here. Y'all can see I've had the little thing up. Paralyzation during sleep transition, which is what I was just talking about. And it's all fine, but my problem with psychologists or doctors for that matter, not everything is sleep paralysis. It's just not. I mean, I know some of this relates to demons or ghosties or other things along those lines. I know some of this could be alien abduction. So for me, it's hard to think that all of this is sleep paralysis. I just don't believe that everything that we've talked about, I mean, all of us work on different projects, and I just don't believe all of them are sleep paralysis. I mean, I know a good friend of mine wrote me a big, nasty letter about 2 years ago. Joe, all them contactees are nuts or have sleep paralysis. I said, really? I said, what color are your eyes? He said, blue. I said, what type of blood you have? Negative. I said, really? You're going to tell me that shit? I said, let me regress you one day. No. I said, no, really? Come on, let me regress you, and we'll find out whether you have real sleep paralysis or not. No, no, no. I don't want to be aggressive. So finally, after about a year of his wife nagging his ass, he let me regress him. Now he wishes he would have never met me. Because the first 15 minutes, he woke up. He was pretty deep too. He woke up in the first 15 minutes. I said, "What's the matter? No sleep paralysis?" He said, "I'm not even going to talk to you for at least a year." He was serious too. His wife's like, "Just calm down." She's like, "Calm down my ass." He said, did you hear what came out of my mouth?" And of course, they get a recording. They get a recording. They get the videotape, and they get when you see the videotape, you can actually see the stress meter next to it because of voice stress analysis. So you can see the physical stress in his voice when he's talking about these things, even under hypnosis. And the funny part was, even when I removed the stress part from the hypnosis, there was still stress left on the meter, which is a rare thing. Usually, when I take him out of the stress mode and just put him in the viewing mode, there is no stress. But for some reason, he couldn't let it go, and it's still. And when I talked to him just a few weeks ago, he's like, "I guess I need to be regressed again." I said, "No, you need to wait a while." I said, "You can't even handle the last one." See, and that's what I tell people this all the time. Don't get regressed if you're not ready to deal with what you're going to find. Because you don't know what's going to be in there. You just don't. You never know what you're going to find in your head. And like, just to put this in perspective, a couple of years ago, this happens about once or twice every year. We'll get somebody who thinks they've had an alien abduction, and it'll turn out to be some type of child abuse or some type of sexual abuse or child abuse. Well, I've said this a million times. I'm not a psychologist, so the only thing I can do is refer you to one. And what we do is we found some psychologists over the years that are friendly to people who have alien abductions. So they don't think they're instantly nuts or they think this or that. They bring them in, they see them, they work with them, and they find out, what it may or may not be. And it's just hard when you wake up to that. It's something you've buried for 20 years of your life, and then some asshole like me comes and pulls it out of your head. But I warn them, don't come unless you're serious, because if you've got these symptoms, it may be sleep paralysis, it may be some kind of abuse, and it may be some kind of contact, or it may be a damn demon, sucking the energy out of you. It could be any of those things. But without help, you're never going to find out. And most people want help because they don't want to live that way. But hey, anybody in this group's ever experienced sleep paralysis?
I have. I actually had it for
Yeah.
years. Even when I started doing sleep studies myself, I ran 5 sleep labs for years and came across probably 2 dozen people that really had severe cataplexy, as they call it in the business, to the point where if you're narcoleptic and you have severe cataplexy, you're a shut in. And it is, to have it myself, it is the strangest thing. I dreamt of my brother being top of my chest, and I was screaming and cussing at him, and I couldn't move. And I woke up, and I was like, okay. And I fell back asleep. I had the same thing again. It's like having a fight with yourself, but not really.
I agree. It's happened to me twice within a 2-month period. The only time in my life ever, and they were fairly close together. And I have to say, being wide awake, not being able to move, looking, at my husband at the time next to me, and you can't speak, you can't call out. But for me, there really was a sense, that typical sense of impending doom, that you're not alone within yourself. And for me, again, I just worked a really malevolent case. So, I try to look at the logical side of everything. But I think the timing of everything, it never happened before at any other case that I've worked in or at any other time in my life. And when I was done with that specific situation, it never happened to me again. And they were both very much the same. One was, late at night. And one was, like when I was just, I would say, and in both cases, I was sound asleep. So it wasn't so much the REM state, but again, I've had experiences with ET also. So, I mean, it could be anything, but, it is very terrifying for the moment.
It's very weird, that's for sure.
Mhm.
Oh, I can finally see everybody on the screen. Look at that. All right. Let's remove this. It's, we're going to bring that list back up. I know somebody hit me with a text. No, we're going to go through the whole list. That was just number 3. I don't know. I mean, people write to me all the time. So the very first time I ever heard about sleep paralysis, it had nothing to do with abductions. This lady said this demon was coming in and sucking her breath out every night. So she went to a doctor, told the doctor, of course, the doctor said you need to get psychological help, but I think it's sleep paralysis. So he gave her drugs for it. Okay. So it knocked her out so bad she couldn't remember anything. So then she remembers waking up one night, she couldn't catch her breath, she couldn't catch her breath, she couldn't catch her breath. And so she went back to see the doctor, said, can you take me off these drugs? I'm not able to catch my breath, and I feel like I'm in limbo time. And then, so he gave her something else, and she remembers about another week after that, she remembers something moving around in the room, and she jumped up real fast to see what it was. And she remembered looking at the clock, and it said 4:04 in the morning. And then she remembers trying to see what this thing is. She said she had been up for 15 or 20 minutes, but the clock still said 4:04 in the morning, like everything froze. So she called somebody, I forgot who it was, MUFON actually is who it was. And MUFON said, I don't know what you got. We don't think it's anything alien, blah, 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 blah. And then she went to, what's his name? Joe Jordan's group. They used to do exorcism. They think if you've been abducted, a demon did it, and they were going to exorcise the demon from you. Well, that didn't work either. So she said, I know it's not sleep paralysis. So she got off the drugs, and she was doing something else. And somebody, I think it was her sister's kids, were staying over at the house, and remembered walking in and seeing this, almost like that picture you sent me, this black thing just kind of hovering over her, sucking the breath out of her. And it would do it for so long, and then it would leave. It just ignored the kids. So really and truly, I don't think that was an alien. That sounds like some type of, it doesn't even sound like a demon. It's like them ones that suck life out of you. There's all kind of them out there that suck different things out of you. But I don't want to call it a vampire either, because it's not really a good explanation for what the hell it was.
Well, a lot of that's the hag syndrome too, right? Where they sit on your chest and they just try to take breath from you. That's a big cultural thing too in many different parts of the world.
They blame it on Lilith, but it's kind of lame,
Mm.
But because Lilith wasn't any, they blamed all that on her, like it was Lilith. I mean, anything that was bad. If someone had a messed up kid back, it was Lilith, and she was a demon and whatever. But we did a house in Hammondsport, New York, where people were being pushed down the stairs, doors were opening and closing, slamming, and they were being terrorized, scratched from head to toe in the middle of the night. The mom in the house, she actually had something sitting on top of her twice, pressing down on her chest with both hands. And one time she felt it, the other time she felt it and saw something. And she actually went to the emergency room both times because she thought she was having a heart attack. But it was the entities in that house, and turns out that people died in 1900 in the house. They all suffocated. So they probably don't even know that. Yep. And then we had a medium, and we did our thing, and they contacted. And it's cool. I shouldn't say cool, but interesting that family that had that moved out before we can go in and do the investigation. A new family moved in. The guy called 7 months later saying, "Hey, I just got out of the army. I got married. I got 2 kids, and we're in this house. And my wife just got pushed down the stairs, and we hear doors slamming." I said, "What's the address?" It was the same address.
Wow.
So different family, different people. And then the neighbor tells me no one's ever lived there longer than 6 months. So think about that. So there is sleep paralysis, but there's also paranormal, version. Yeah.
I wish that doctors would do their due diligence and keep an open mind, just the way
No, it's easier to throw some drugs at you.
I know, but when Michelle takes a case, and I don't want to speak for you, but you've said this in public, and I know this from working with you, you go through everything to make sure that it's not a medical condition. So why can't they be open-minded and take into consideration their patient's culture and faith? Because the hag is international. It's called different things, but it looks very similar, and it does the same thing to everybody. It's not possible that, worldwide, this is a myth. It doesn't fit.
It
Well, I can answer that for you. My son's a doctor. He's a microbiologist. And he, whenever I talk about the old hat theory or anything spiritual, anything like that, he immediately says, "Dad, I don't want to hear it. It's not true. I have no proof."
Wow.
Yeah, just like that.
That's too bad.
It's like when he was young, my God, he was an older boy. He went to church with his mom, and I mean, seriously, he was a good kid. Now he don't believe God exists,
It's
and
easier not
that's
to
sad.
believe. Yeah,
And
it's
that's
easier
sad.
not to believe.
It
I'm
is.
I'm fortunate. My general practitioner is very open minded. In fact, he encourages me, and he's great to talk to. I'm fortunate that way. But what I mean is, there's so many, not just sleep paralysis, but possessions that have been, hugely and fatally misdiagnosed. And I think we need to stay open minded on both ends. Not just the paranormal really makes sure they try to, anyways, to make sure that you're not working with someone who indeed has a medical issue or a mental health issue. I would hope that you all do that. It would be nice to see doctors remembering that there is culture and faith behind things as well, and mindset. So
I've been
for me, you're
fortunate.
welcome, Joseph.
I've been fortunate in my field of work that I work with psychiatrists and psychologists, because I usually ask for assessments, and I usually ask for permission from the doctor who's administering medication to work with these people, because you don't want to. It's like in paranormal research, you get too many researchers in one spot, and you know, you end up stepping on toes. So that's not what I want to do. But, there was a Canadian physicist named John Christophe Terrellon, and he was doing some research in Japan. And he's a scientist. He doesn't believe in evil spirits or anything like that. But he experienced some sleep paralysis. And he said it happened to him once a week. And he sensed a threatening presence, something very evil beside him while he was paralyzed. His ears rang. He felt something pressed down on his chest, and he was struggling to breathe. He felt some intense pressure in his head, like it was going to explode. Then he found himself being transported upward and looking down at his body. And he even went through a stage where he felt like he was being hurled through a long tunnel. Now, this is a scientific person who doesn't believe in anything. So, anybody?
Well, it's interesting you said that. Let me take this off the screen for a minute. It's interesting you said that, because I had a good friend of mine. His doc's still a good friend of mine. Good friend of mine who's a lawyer. It was funny. It's like one of them jokes, a lawyer, a pastor. And so anyway, I talked to a good friend of mine who's he goes by the name of Southern Cross. He's a preacher now. Been for a long time. So I said, all three of y'all, blah, blah, blah. I said, I'll tell you what. Why don't y'all come spend some time with me? I'm going to take you to a little place. So I took him out to Honey Island Swamp. First off, they were scared. It was hilariously funny. I was videotaping the whole thing. They were all because it's scary back then as well. And I said, no, you got to worry about the animals. I got the gun for that, or the crazy people with the banjos. I said, we got guns for that, so don't worry about that. So
we started.
So we're sitting there, and you see this F-16 following behind something. It looked like some kind of chase plane or something, but it was headed for NASA. He said, well, that's nothing. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Jason's seen this too before with me. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, you see this beautiful silver saucer just kind of catching up with him. All of a sudden, they overtake both planes. It gets in front. Big light comes out from underneath, and it just goes down into NASA. It just sets down. So they're all like, I said, Oh, and the first thing out of their mouth, oh, that's some new stealth stuff we're testing. I said, did you see the two planes in front of it? It was being escorted. It had nothing to do with us. I said, well, I tell you what, if you're worried, I said, let's get in the car and we'll go down to the end of the road so we can look into the field where it landed. And they were like, oh, Joe, it's military stuff. I said, well, don't worry about the military. They're not going to bother you any. I said, I got a good clearance. They won't bother. So we go park down there, and we're sitting down there, and all you could hear was it really sounded like someone was screaming at the top of their lungs. That was the second time we've heard something back there screaming at the top of their lungs. And it's so quiet back there, anything for distance, you can hear screaming for quite some distance. And it was freaky, because it was just freaky. After that, he said, well, I still, and the doctor goes, I still don't believe. I said, well, let's cross the river here and go into the field. Oh, no. I said, what do you mean, no? You don't believe? What are you worried about? Well, it might be some big cats. I said, there ain't big cats in Louisiana. Come on, maybe a bear. I said, I got the gun for that. I said, no. I said, come on, let's go walk. Let's go. I said, there's a log we can all walk across and go into this field and see what's going on. They got in my car and would not get out of my car, all three of them. So I said, that's fine.
Wow.
Stay in my car. I said, we're going to go for a little ride. So I said, everybody look and see what time it is. I said, you see what time it is? It's 8 o'clock, right? I said, okay. We're cruising on Honey Island Swamp. And you see just something comes over us, and the white light goes over the car. You can see it going down the road, like we're scanning the road. We get to the end of the swamp, and I looked down at my clock. It said 10:11.
Wow.
I said, what time's your watch say? And I still remember this doctor. He goes, uh-uh, for like 10 times. And I to looking, what do you mean, He said, look and see. And the preacher looks at me and he said, She said, Joe, it was 2 miles from there. I said, what's the matter? He said, you got something that made our watches go for. I said, how in the hell would I do that? I said, y'all wearing 3 different kind of watches. I don't even know what time it is on your watch. I said, don't be ridiculous. And I said, what's the matter? And then I still remember Raymond. He said, man, my arm itches. So he rolls back his shirt. His whole arm all the way up to his is full of these little red prickles. He's a doctor. He still don't know what the hell happened. So I said, well, look, I said, if y'all still just think that sleep paralysis is this and none of this shit's real, I'm just going to bring y'all home and we won't talk about it. Well, Southern Cross became a regular with ICAR. He still is even today. Raymond wants to be, but his science side of his brain makes it too hard. He knows, and then I called him up one day about the blue eyes, green eyes, and RH negative because he's green eyed RH negative. And I said, what do you think? He said, Joe. He said, what do you want me to blow my brains? He said, I do not want to think I'm being taken because if I'm being taken, I've heard you speak before. It means my kids and my wife are being taken. That's why your wife might not be being taken, but your kids definitely are. He didn't speak to me for 18 months. I'm not kidding you, for 18 months. He wouldn't call me. He wouldn't take any calls. He just would not. And then I ran into him in Lakeside Mall, and he started talking to me. He's like, dude, all kind of weird shit's happening to me. He said, I wish I would have never met you. I said,
wow.
deal with it. He said, no, you brought it out. You made it happen. I said, I didn't make it happen. It was already happening. I just brought it to the forefront. So I get the 3 back together. We're all sitting there talking. And by this time, they all had serious events happen in their lives. And I said, well, do you think it's sleep paralysis? I said, you're the doctor. I said, you're the lawyer. You're the pastor. I said, do you think it's sleep paralysis? And I still remember the doctor looked up. He said, I want to say that's what it is. He said, but my education says that is not what's happening to me. He said, so then they start, because the preacher starts, well, maybe it's demons. Maybe it's demons. Maybe it's this, and maybe it is demons. I said, there might be some demons in Honey on Swamp. So I said, do y'all want to come down to Golf Breeze with me? Bitches wouldn't even get in my car. It was like, they were like 3 little kids. It was hilariously funny. I'm going to go anywhere with you again. I said, look, I said, if they're going to take you, it doesn't matter if you're with me or not. They're going to take your ass. I said, it doesn't matter. I said, why don't y'all go down, one of y'all 3, I'll go down. So they planned a vacation, the 3 of them, took their wives and kids and all went down and spent 2 weeks in Golf Breeze. At least a week's missing in each one of their lives. At least a week. They have no idea what happened to them. They have no clue. They don't want to be regressed. They don't want to talk about it. He said, and matter of fact, when I ran a car too, they both were like, you're not my friend anymore. You let this happen to us. I said, no. I said, I told you what was going to happen ahead of time. I said, why don't you let me get in your head and you'll find out what really happened to you. It'll be easier to deal with. I said, I said, from your own degrees. I said, all 3 of y'all know this. I said, once it's out, it's easier to deal with. I said, if you keep it locked away, you're just going to get more and more aggravated, more and more schizoid, more and more everything. And no. And then finally, they said, okay. But they all 3 wanted to be together when it happened. So I said, since y'all are friends, I'm not going to regress y'all. I said, I don't feel comfortable regressing my friends. I said, I will be present when it goes on. So I asked a local friend of mine down here if they would regress him. And Raymond wanted to go first. And he was so mad when he woke up. He couldn't talk to anybody. I mean, it was just, his face was red, his hand, he was just angry as all. He was just furious. And I said, okay, Mr. Sleep Paralysis, what happened? He said, there is no way this happened to me. I said, why? The memory's in your head. You can't get it out now, can you? It's there. I said, I warned you. Once the cat's out of the box, you can't put it back in. And he's like, maybe I can do some hypnosis to get rid of it. I said, why? I said, you're well into your 40s. I said, it's not bad contact. All the bad shit's over with. I said, deal with it. And I said, understand what's going on with you. Maybe you can make it easier on your kids in the future. I said, because they're not to puberty yet. The bad stuff's just going to start happening now. Now, still, they only want to talk to me every once in a while now. Here we are in 2021. They're kind of like, how you doing, Joe? Nice to see you. Bye. It's hilarious. I see Southern Cross the other day. He goes, it's been a little while since I've seen you. I guess it's going to be a little while. Bye. As he takes off down the road. I'm like, so the bad part is Raymond's wife called me up. Why'd you do that? He is a mess. I said, he's always been a mess. I said, at least now he'll know what to do, how to fix it. I said, just work with him on it, help him get through it. I said, it's like anything else, like coming out the closet. I said, you have to work on it to go forward. I said, he knows it's not sleep paralysis because he told me for years and years he was experiencing. That's how it started. He kept telling me he was experiencing sleep paralysis, and for some reason or another, it just didn't fit him. It didn't feel right to me. And then, when all this other research came out, it made me really think, oh no, this boy's being taken. And a lot of times people who are being taken can spot each other. But these three guys didn't know each other from being, by the way, they're all best friends now. They go
Oh,
out to dinner together. They take their kids out. They travel in groups together. I said, well, you're making it easy on these guys. He said, well, safety in numbers. I was like, whatever. It's just, it's just how it works. I mean, but then a good friend of mine, Marissa, she was having sleep paralysis. It was nothing but sleep paralysis. We went through all kind of stuff with her. And I sent it to a psychologist friend of mine, and psychologist worked with her. He said, you got sleep paralysis. She said, you don't have anything else. And she gave, I forgot what it was. It was a drug they give you for ADHD. And she's been fine ever since. No
good
sleep
for her.
paralysis.
It does exist. We're not saying it doesn't.
Yes,
It
it
just,
does.
yeah, there's,
Yeah, it does really exist. It's just a lot of times it gets misrepresented. Anybody who works in the UFO or paranormal field knows that this is a real thing, but it's not always a real thing. Sometimes it's something else. Sometimes it might be one of them sexy Casper ghosts coming to visit you or something.
yeah, because everybody wants a succubus.
Well, what was the one? Remember the one detective girl in Texas that followed her to the place? What was that? What was that case? Oh, why can't I remember that case? She was she was being raped her whole time, and then she talked to somebody that said Texas University, and they brought her and put her in a place to see if they
Yeah,
followed it. Still,
Michelle
She
is my
made a
favorite
movie
film.
on it, the
Yeah.
entity.
yeah. So I mean, obviously, and
Yeah.
other people experience that. I mean, there's several places in this country you can go to experience. There's several places in any country you can go experience stuff. Things get you. Things like to eat, or I don't want to say eat you, but
There's definitely different forms of it that exist, and I think it's just figuring out which one it is. Like I said, in my case, it happened twice within a 2-month span. Never before, never after, and I mean, I'm in my late 30s at that point, so it's not like it was early on in life or later, and never had a problem again. So I think it's just important to try to get a handle on which one it is, because in like the case of your friend, if it is abductions, like it happened to the scientist, he figured it was an abduction. Maybe it was just something. Maybe it's because he left his body. Was he being taken, or was that just a prequel to having an out of body experience, astral projection? You know what I mean? Like, because the whole headache thing to me, like, I don't know that happens. Like, it didn't happen with me. It's only happened to me twice. Sean G, you said it happened to you and you did a case study on it. Did you ever get anything like that?
No, not really. But I did, cataplexy is real for sure. And we keep talking about what do doctors think about this? Well, it's about 50-50. 50% will say no, it's all explained away as it's sleep paralysis, cataplexy, all these ghost sightings, the succubus that you see in the middle of the night. It's just you having a hypnagogic hallucination, aka you're having a dream intrude upon your opening eyes. Half your brain's asleep, half your brain's awake. You may have sleep paralysis, you may not. And that's that field. And I can honestly tell you, these folks that have MD or DO or whatever after their name don't know what the hell is going on with sleep. There's more known about everything else in the world than sleep. More known about death than sleep.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Yeah, I've read up to million studies about dreams. One thing caught my attention. What got me into studying sleep on a professional level? It was nobody knew about it. Some people would say, "Well, you're stressed out. That's why you dream." Or then you flip over to the are we actually touching the other side when we dream? I tend to believe that it might be a little mix of both. We actually touch the other side when we dream, and the other side touches us. How many times, the folks that do live streams and actually, converse with people on on this particular subject, how many times you woke up in the middle of the night or had strange dreams after you talked to a certain particular person, and you're like, well, what the hell was that standing beside my bed? Hands up, I have.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly have.
as long as it's sexy, I'm okay. That's all I can say.
The last
I'm
one
just
I had
saying,
was looked like a demon standing beside my bed.
That's it. It didn't go away, but if it's sexy, hey, come stand inside of me. I don't care. Hey, it's like, who was it? Oh, it was famous actor just recently was talking about some sexy succubus bitch he met, and it cost him his career and most of his money. And I'm thinking, did he meet her in Vegas or something? I mean, but he was serious. I mean, he was when he was talking about this, he was dead serious. He
Yeah.
said he felt drained all the time, and I said, well, you're in your 40s and you're dating someone in your 20s, you might feel drained all the time. I'm just saying, man, it's kind of a rough thing. But I don't think they appreciated that answer. But it was weird. It was weird. I mean, he talked about seeing this thing. He said in the beginning, I used to just catch it out of my eye and it sounded like it was whispering something to me in my ear. And he said, then I would wake up and it would just be sitting on my gut and looking at me. And sometimes I would see like a mist between her mouth and my face, and sometimes I wouldn't. He said sometimes I would get aroused and sometimes I'd get angry. He said, I don't know what the hell it was. And then he actually went and seen a priest to do an exorcism on him. He said it worked because after that it quit. And he says he's now going back. Man, I wish I could remember. He's fairly famous too. I wish I could remember who the hell he was. It's written down on one of these case studies in here somewhere. But you get weird stuff like that, and that's not something I handle. It's like Guy Malone and Joe Jordan who do the alien exorcisms. I've got at least a dozen, about a half a dozen of their cases have come to me saying, I don't think it worked. And I'm like, what didn't work? Matter of fact, that's how I met Tree Sheridan, one of our directors. She came to me one day. She heard me talking somewhere and speaking. And she says, well, no, they told me it was a demon and I've been exiled. I said, well, do you feel like it's gone? And she's like, not exactly. I said, do you want to be hypnotized to see what's there? And she kind of hesitated. So, well, you don't have to. I said, don't, So she hung out with us for a couple of years, got involved with the organization. And one day we were in Laughlin, Nevada. And she said, can you hypnotize me? I said, sure. Let's go sit over here and get a quiet room and I'll hypnotize you. She just flipped out. I mean, she flipped out like, whoo, man. She was only like 5 foot, 80 pounds if she was lucky. I mean, she just flipped out totally, and I was like, she's like kung fu on everybody. So it was kind of funny because she was a black belt martial artist. I used to laugh, and I was like, Trish, you're 80 pounds, 90 pounds. What are you gonna do? You kick me until she bounce off of me? I mean, really, it's just too funny. But she freaked out hard. She found that it was still going on. And I said, don't worry about it. I said, the age you are, they're not hurting you. I said, they're just, showing you different things, getting you involved in projects. They're past this. I said, unless it's a demon or something. I said, if it was a demon, that should have worked or at least upset the demon to make it worse. And she said, well, it didn't make it worse. And she said, at first I thought it worked. I said, because you was pushing it down. So you were hiding it from yourself. I said, but when you relaxed, you heard someone speak, it would trigger things and you'd come back and wake up. And, somebody asked me today, and all the hypnosis I've done, how many actually turned out to be alien abductions? Not quite half. 45% maybe, somewhere up in that range, maybe 40%. A lot of them turned out to be all kind of weird stuff. You'd be surprised how many of them turned out to be abuse of some kind of sexual abuse from either childhood to adulthood or somewhere in between, and usually by someone close. It's one of the reasons, I guess, they would just lock it away. And the first time that ever happened, had done about 25 hypnosis. I was green as could be, and we had a case like that. I didn't even know what to tell her. I was stunned. I was like, I said, I don't even know who to refer you to. I mean, I felt bad because I didn't know who to refer her to. So I put her back under and pushed the memory to the side. I said, this memory is going to hold here for 6 or 7 months, but then it's going to come back out. So you need to find a psychologist, and you need to find one soon. I said, they can bring the memory back out. Just tell them what I did. And sure enough, she found one and worked it out. She's happily married with 5 kids now. Yeah, she's just on her way breeding the damn planet and 5 kids. God help.
Helping the population.
That's like Sean got like 26 or something. Both the Sean's got like 26. Y'all got like 50 kids between y'all. Before anybody asks, I got one child and 5 stepchildren, or 4 stepchildren, and somebody who says they're my child, but I really don't know if they are. So, 2 maybe, and 4 stepchildren.
Oh my God! Someone send them a DNA test.
Man,
it's crazy. It's all kind of crazy. NP. Sorry, I was answering a business call there, trying to make some money while I'm talking. It's I don't know. It's where were we on 4? What was 4? Hold on, let me put it back up here. Share, not like the woman share, the screen share. Where the hell did it go? Don't get funky thing. Just go back to where you're supposed to be. There it is. Share. Ta-da. auditory hallucination. So that's hearing weird shit. So we yeah, I guess you could hear weird stuff like Black Sabbath playing in the background. I'd be thinking of demons would come. If I woke up to Black Sabbath, I might be thinking of demons are coming for sure. I don't know. I've heard people say a lot of weird stuff, but usually I'll hear people say like, I can hear something talking in distance, and it's too low to make out, but you can hear it. It sounds like more than one person. A lot of times they say more than one being, which already creeps me out because I'm not sure what they're talking about, what they're seeing. As I noticed in sleep paralysis, like when you talk about visualization, hallucinations, it's usually off to the distance or out of sight or right out of visual acuity, so you can't see it, but you know it's there. See, that's not really how it works for abductions or even for demons. Really, you just usually can see the damn thing, unless it's deliberately hiding from you. Usually, you can see it. And since most of these cases are men or women over the age of 30, all the bad stuff has happened and going on. It's into new stuff now. So if it's anything to do with aliens, they shouldn't be as scared as they were through their 20s. When you're in 20s, I can understand being terrified, but when you get in 30s, I guess it's still terrifying to know some alien come jerked you out the door and took you on a road somewhere and beamed you up to a mothership or something. What would be interesting is if the alien came in while the demon was there.
That'd be crazy.
Or are they one and the same?
I mean, it would be insanity. I mean, I don't know how. I mean, I've heard people say they think that because I do know in the paranormal fields, a lot of times especially when I hear about poltergeist cases, a lot of times they show up when in ETs. I don't know if it's some kind of extra energy they give off, some kind of energy that's left behind or something like that. But it happens a lot. They say that they see like things moving around the house. I mean, you've all seen ET. Everything's driving around, walking around and stuff. There is a poltergeist activity, but I don't know if it's a real poltergeist in the way, if you're thinking of ghosts or energies that way, if it's some kind of other energy being given off by the aliens, and no one so far has been able to figure it out. Maybe it's both. I do know there's other, and I know a lot of times it seems like a house has been quiet and a contact family will move in, and if for some reason the ghosts start moving, maybe it upsets the ghosts that the aliens are there. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, apparently it also is believed to run in families.
Mm-hmm.
So that would fall into the abduction thing a little bit, I think.
Yeah, it probably would. It's a strange thing because we know abductees get abducted in family lines. Well, I had a lady just the other day get so mad at me too for that. She goes, "You don't know what you're talking about." I said, "That's fine, sweetie. You don't have to believe anything I'm saying." I said, "It's all information to be taken and left." She goes, "I know my mom or my dad wasn't taken by aliens." I said, "Did you ever ask them?" "Well, no." I said, "Then how do you know?" I said, "Did you ever see your mom just break down in tears for no reason at all? Or walk into a room somewhere and people will change their attitude because she's there, or she'll change her attitude because they're there?" She said, "Well, yeah." She said, "It happens to me sometimes." I said, "That's because you're empathic." And I said, "I've never met an empathic person that's not being taken." See, because I got a lot of my paranormal friends that tell me they're good telepaths or empaths. I know right off the bat they're being taken. And it's funny because it's a weird thing in the abduction field because people will, first off, they'll usually start an interest in God, in the church. And then sometimes they'll get an interest in the dark arts. And then they'll start looking into paranormal. And then they get very interested in paranormal. It may be through reading cards or doing a lot of different things. But a lot of them will become paranormal investigators because, like everybody else, they're seeking answers. The problem is they're seeking the wrong answers because Ghostie's not going to bring you close enough to ET. But unless you get lucky and happen to have both happen at the same time. And I have heard cases of that. It's like Bigfoot sightings with alien craft. So is the Bigfoot coming from the alien craft, or did the craft draw the Bigfoot? Same thing with the ghosties. Or is the ghosties there and attracted to the spacecraft, or the spacecraft attracted to the ghosties? And so far, no one's been able to give me an answer. And I try not to meld the two fields together because there's enough in each field to keep you busy anyway. But there does seem to be overlap. So, and then there's sleep paralysis that also overlaps into both things. It's hard thing. It's hard enough without having to add sleep paralysis in there. And then when you think about overlapping from one type of case to another, what I'd like to see is someone who's seriously possessed when the Greys show up. I'd like to see how they're going to react to that. I'd be like, could you see the Grey with the cross? Be gone! I don't think that's going to happen.
I think there's a bit of a link because I've worked with families, and as you start researching further into the situation, it turns out that they've seen Greys.
I've heard about
I
it.
bet you it's a 60-40 thing, close to that with me.
It's a weird thing. It's like this next one here, tactile hallucinations. I've had friends of mine tell me I've felt something rubbing on me, or like somebody will just take the tip of their fingers and rub down their arm, their belly, down their leg, and they're like, I don't think it's aliens and I don't think it's ghosts. I said, listen, if it's not your wife or your husband and it's something, I mean, really, I don't care. I've never hallucinated anything touching me. I got to be honest about that. And personally, I don't think I've run into anybody who's hallucinated something touching me that they didn't have an idea what it was. So that one kind of bothers me on this list right here. But I've had both men and women tell me about being touched in places they shouldn't have been touched. I've heard about people being pulled out of the beds, both in paranormal and in ufology. It's kind of weird. I'm having possessed Michael in a minute.
Can I rewind just for a second?
Yeah.
Thank you. I was doing some research on sleep study cases for this because I was curious to see if there was anything documented that could come up as paranormal and how they would handle it, being a sleep center and being scientific. And I came across this case where there clearly is a demonic voice on the recording and there's activity in the bed, but they will just dismiss it as being static in the recording. But when you hear it, it's clear that it's demonic. So I find it interesting, Sean, see, even with the evidence right there, they're still saying, eh.
Well, I have actually in the old sleep lab that was ICU unit. It was very haunted, and I had captured several times where there was one lady woke up in the middle of the night and screamed, "Sean, Sean!" And I was, like 2 o'clock in the morning. I was running the sleep study itself, and I run in there and asked her, I said, "What's happening?" I said, "Well, I thought it was you sitting in the corner over there in the corner. There was a little chair there."
Mm-hmm.
I said, "No, it wasn't me." He said, "Yeah, I realize that now. You have hair, and this guy didn't have hair." And I actually saw a light jump on her bed in the recording. It was a VCR setup. And I told a couple of people about it, and they kind of dismissed it. And I was like, well, where the hell is this going to go? I regret that I did not save that. But, of course, you got this HIPAA thing here in the United States, so you can't say anything about that or save that kind of stuff. You just can't share that when it's part of a healthcare record. But, this happened over 20 years ago.
This was a collaboration between an investigator who believed this woman was being possessed in the stages of possession, because she did show the signs of possession in her life every day, and then a sleep center checking because she was ready to be put on meds. And I just find it fascinating that even with that in front of them, they still said she's in sleep paralysis. I found it disappointing and very disheartening. It's just sad, really.
It comes to the point where who is actually the person in charge, which usually is the medical doctor or the director. It's all on their belief system. So
yeah, it's really sad because you're in a medical center. You're being assessed for your. This goes to Sean. Sorry, your son who's a doctor. It would be I should forward you that one and you can send it to him and just say, well.
Please do.
Yeah, like what are we doing here? So that's what I mean. Like it needs to be looked at.
Who's munching on their mic? Mute your mic, whoever that is munching on your mic. I keep hearing somebody munching on their mic. Yeah,
I'm guessing Michael because he just went mute.
Good, Michael. Good boy. Y'all gotta learn when you ain't using a mute him. I'm sorry, Sean. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off, man. Or Sean, which Sean was I talking? Oh, Sean Kelly, he was talking. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I got two Seans. I'm confusing myself.
All I know is that when my son was young, at that time I was really big into just learning about the spirit and the Native American spirituality. And my son was like about 3 or 4 years old, and he kind of liked it too. I mean, he was really into it. And all of a sudden he turned at the age of 10 and he just like completely ignored it. Do you know what I mean? Like,
seen
Maybe
that.
you had an experience that he was scared of,
that's possible. I
because
don't
kids
know,
see
but
everything, right?
right. And now he's 31 and he's a scientist and a doctor, and he thinks I'm a nutcase.
Well, no, I can truly understand that, Sean. I really can, because when I was young and I was big time in I still am big time in science. And I remember the first time somebody, this was very, just this person was just top of everything. And they said, I've been taken by aliens. And I looked at him like, what are you getting crazy? I said, and this is how I said it exactly. I said, you need to seek professional effing help. I said, come on. I said, you're bright, you're intelligent, you run a big corporation. I said, I've been knowing you since I was a little peon of a kid. I said, what are you talking about aliens are taking? She said, Joe, I'm serious. She said, I feel compelled to tell you. And I'm like, why? I mean, it aggravated the crap out of me. I was pissed. And I was rude. I really was. I was like, there's no scientific proof of aliens or any other damn thing coming on our plans. And I didn't believe in any of the crap. But I was still pissed off when my dad died when I was 16. I was still pissed. And so I was mad at everything. And I just didn't believe it. And I was, I was working through school. I was in the Navy, working through school, getting my degrees. And I didn't want to hear any bullshit. And I remember my first carrier duty trip. A lady, one of the lady captains came up to me and she said, have you ever heard these pilots talk about UFOs and stuff? And at the time, I had. She said, I always felt like something comes and takes us sometime. I'm thinking to myself, this is a captain telling me this. I mean, she'd lose a career over this. And then I'm thinking, why are you telling me this? So this was about maybe a year after the last time. So then for shits and giggles, I was a plane captain in charge of the line check on board the carrier in the Nimitz. So when pilots would come in, they'd be sitting in the line check waiting for the planes to be brought down to the elevator and waiting to be debriefed. So you see anything weird in the skies? Man, they'd go off for like an hour on the shit they seen flying around us. Go, well, I know it wasn't Russian and it ain't ours because we ain't got nothing like that. And so by the time I got out of Navy, I was 23, 24. And I just had this weird, like, I got to look into this. I've had too many people of high caliber, because I would always told, if you've seen an alien, you probably some, with an 8th grade education that dropped out of school, don't even know how to spell, stuff like that. That's what they always made fun of. But these people were brilliant. These people were heads of their careers. I mean, the guy who ran our F-14 squadron, this guy was brilliant. And he was telling me about things he'd seen. He told me, he said, I felt like once or twice that they took me in the aircraft and put me back. He said, once or twice, our radar screen lost the whole squadron for an hour or two. That's impossible, especially when we're running low on fuel. We'd have crashed. And I was kind of like, really? So after that, I go home on leave, and I'm sitting, of all places, I'm sitting at the airport waiting for somebody to pick me up. Lady comes and sits down to me, doesn't know me from Bean, starts telling me about aliens taking her from her house. I'm like, this is just too weird. I mean, it's like 4 people now, not including the pilots. I was just like, what? So I decided, I called MUFON. Big mistake on my part. And not really at the time, but because I loved Walt Anders. But anyway, I got in with him, became a research analyst for him. Linda joined, she became a research analyst, and we started doing hardcore research into alien abduction, which, by the way, MUFON was not happy with. They didn't want us talking about alien abductions. They only chased lights in the sky. That's all they did. So we formed a little group inside the organization, and we found about 15,000 cases worldwide. We narrowed it down to 5,000. That was our first alien criteria we ever made, was out of those 5,000 cases. And I would call MUFON after Walt retired and try to get information. And man, it was like the black hole. John took over. John was definitely black ops. Everybody knew it. The next 3 directors after him were black ops. So I said, you know what, y'all like the black hole of Calcutta. You're wasting my time. I said, I'm doing all kind of research, and God knows where it's going, or who's getting it, or what's going on. So I said, I'm leaving. And I wasn't even going to form another organization. So I'm online. I was doing readings. I was doing card readings for people who, because I'd been doing it for some pretty high name people for a while. And I was online talking to them. I said, well, you read your cards, we'll pay you to read cards. So I started reading cards one night, and a friend of mine came in the chat group where we had set. He said, have you heard the guy, this was on Yahoo, by the way, have you heard the guy with the chat room, Ariel St. Sinclair, he's talking about aliens and this, that, and the other thing. So I went and listened to him. I should have never done that. I'm like, oh my God, this dude is effing crazy. I'm going to prove he's effing crazy. So I spent probably 100 G's over the next 18 months just traveling the country, flying around, going to conferences, going to meet people, doing this, doing that, doing this. And I came to the conclusion that there may be something to it. Then I spent, here we are now, 37, 38 years later, and I have no doubt there's something to it. And still to this day, people will come out, and just yesterday, a customer comes up to me and says, do you really believe in UFOs? I said, well, there's nothing to believe in UFOs. It just means unidentified flying object. She said, well, I mean alien contact. I said, yeah. She just went off. Her daughter went off. I was like, what the? It's just the weirdest thing that people just find me out of the blue. I mean, it doesn't make so. We found out about a decade ago, they call them core groups. And there'll be a couple people in the center and then another group around them. You know, it's like a couple of 3, then 11, then 19. It just grows out till it gets to be 300 or 400. They're all connected in the same group. Probably because they're all being taken. And the groups interact with each other, but we also know they're actually breeding together. It's a really strange thing. And I still today, though, when people come up to me out of the blue, it's one thing I'm at a conference and they know who I am. It's another thing when I'm in construction clothes doing construction, they come sit down to me and tell me I've been taken by aliens. And I'm like, what? I had one lady, actually I had a couple over the years, but I had one lady just recently. She said, I was told you were the guy. I said, by who? She said, by the aliens. I'm like, really? I said, well, tell them to send you a paycheck with you next time. I'm like, come on, I don't do this stuff for free. Send a paycheck, people. And but it's just weird how it happens. But it's the same thing with my friends in the paranormal field. I'll have friends tell me that they'll have people just out of the blue start telling them about ghosties or this in their house or that in their house. And it'd be one thing if they were wearing like their ghost shirts or something. They're dressed for work, nice, clean cut people. And then like Frank is Frank got these tats going down both arms across his chest. He looks like the scariest bastard on the planet. He's a big pussycat, by the way, but he looks like the scariest beast on the planet. Guy's got a professional career, and the problem is you don't know he's got tats because he's have to wear long sleeve shirts because where he works, you can't show your tats. It's against the house policy, and he don't want to lose his job. So, but he's all in he's in a t-shirt that day, he's in jeans. He's just sitting there, and this lady starts telling him about this ghost that's coming. He looked there and like, first of all, why would you talk to me? I look like I'd choke you to death. And secondly, you're telling me that stuff. Women trusted him implicitly. They're actually friends now. Well, as much as friends they can for a short time they've been, but they're friends. And she said, I've always felt like I knew you. I was like, and I've had people tell me that all the time. And then I'll have people tell me they've seen me in a ship and I was wearing this, and that. And I was like, okay, that's strange. Or you'll come by and say, oh, I seen you working with this contactee and you were telling them this, and this. And I was like, really? And yeah, and I liked watching you work when you're on board the ship. I'm like, really? It's like this tells you about your psychic abilities. And Gio, who's a friend of mine, I still remember this. We're sitting there talking, and she said something about she lost her keys. I said, you didn't lose them. They're underneath your chair. I said, go. I said, move your roller chair over, and it's right there under the silver part where all the wheels connect together. And she's like, wow, how'd you know that? I said, I same way I knew you were wearing that funky ass brown flannel shirt and them green ass shorts, drawers. She hung up. She thought I had a camera in her hand.
Oh.
So
Careful.
about a week passed and she comes in. I bet you can't tell me what I'm wearing now. So I told her, she said, you've got a camera in my house. I said, no, I don't. I said, when they take you, that's what you're wearing. I said, I can only tell you what I seen when you seen you. I said, then they put you back home. I said, you just happen to have the same clothes on. She's like, I don't believe you. And I said, well, that's fine. And a couple of months go by and I see her in the chat room. She's in there hanging around. And I said, how you doing? She said, okay. I said, next time they take you, tell them to leave your headphones at home. You look funny floating around a spaceship with a set of headphones in your head. And she said, oh, well, tell me what they look like. I said, they were pink with little fluffy things on them. I said, they were creepy looking, actually. She's like,
Oh
I
my
am
God.
never talking to you ever again. I said, okay.
You have a way of doing that to people, Joe.
Well, sometimes my psychic ability kicks in and I can see things, but a lot of times it's just because I've seen them before. And it's weird. Like we'll go to conferences and it's like these people recognize each other. I mean, it's the weirdest thing you've ever seen. And they'll start talking and they'll start talking about seeing each other and what they're wearing, what they're dressed. Then they start hugging each other. And I'm like, I can't tell you how many relationships have come out of this and how many of these people are still married even today. It's like, for some reason, I guess it's hard if you're being taken and your spouse isn't, or if you've having something happen to you and your spouse isn't. A lot of times they're not going to believe you, and it puts a strain on a marriage. But when you get two contactees together or two ghost hunters together or something, they tend to stay married.
Yeah,
they don't tend to have those problems. It's a weird thing. It's a strange.
Hey, Joe, let me ask you a question.
Good.
Have you ever, and this is for Michelle, and I forgot the other lady's name. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay,
Almost did
Amelia.
Amelia. Now,
Right.
question is, you ever get the feeling that people look at you and they want to come up to you and ask you about something, but they just don't do it, and then
Yeah,
you make the move to go up to them and say what's on your mind?
yeah. I have a couple of times, and a couple of times it's been because they felt like there was a connection, and a couple of times it's like we're in an elevator going to a conference. I'm coming down, and these two girls are whispering to Linda. So I walk out the elevator, and Linda said, "Stop, stop, stop! I want you to meet somebody." I said, "Who?" She said, "They're just scared to say hello to you." So I turned around and I said, "Hello." They got all giggly like I was like somebody famous or something. I said, "Sweetie, I'm not famous. I'm working just like the rest of you. I got a day job." I said, "I just do this to help people out." And then the shorter one says, "No, I've known you all my life." She said, I've seen your face." And then she drew, she's a great artist. She drew a picture of me when I was like 19.
Wow.
And it was damn good. And then she drew a picture of me at 20 in my Navy uniform with my badges on. As far as I know, no one's ever even took a picture of those.
That's gifted.
So I was kind of like, wow, that creeped me out a little bit. And I was like, well, that's very nice. And we're all friends now. But, and I will, sometimes I'll be standing somewhere, you'll see somebody, a guy or a girl, somebody just wanting to, you can see it's like they're moving, wanting to move forward to you, and then they kind of back off. And a lot of times they'll say, hey, what's up? Anything I can do for you? Sometimes they'll talk, and sometimes they will dart off like you wouldn't believe, man. I mean, boom, they're gone. Like, oh, man. And it's just, and people get scared. I can understand that. I mean, when I first got in this field, I didn't know who to talk to or who to ask or what I was even asking for that matter. And a lot of times I thought it because I didn't believe in aliens, but being raised in New Orleans, I knew there was ghosts and demons because, anybody who walks around a court at 2 o'clock in the morning is going to see something anyway. Oh, I love the haunted carriage. They got an old mule. I guess he died. He pulls the carriage through the court at 3 in the morning. First you hear clunk, 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 and then you hear the wheels creaking. And all of a sudden this thing comes darting by you where a guy looks like a skeleton driving. It almost looks like a hologram, to be honest with you. But
It's like a Disney ride.
it is. It's kind of like that. And I didn't know whether to be scared or be exhilarated. I was like, what the hell did I just see? But you see a lot of other stuff down there. Like I like when you're going through Pirates Alley or you're cutting across Royal, you'll see like women at 2 or 3 in the morning dressed in these big ball gowns, just walking down the street hand in hand. They don't even pay any mind to you. Just I don't know if it's one of those things where it's just reoccurring or if they're just ignoring you or what, but they're just going right on by. I don't like when they walk through. That always creeps me out, by the way. That it still creeps me out even today. It's just like, what? What? But see, all of this goes back to sleep paralysis because a lot of these people have these audio sensations, these visual sensations, these smell sensations. And what bothers me is when when you have all of this, taste, smell, hear, sight, and they say it's sleep paralysis. And I know those can be conditions of sleep paralysis, but really, I got to stop and think, well, wait a minute now. I mean, they're seeing stuff, they're feeling stuff, they're hearing stuff. So, and then you hear something talking to you, and then it touches you. I don't know. I'm thinking maybe it ain't what we think it is. I'm not thinking it's sleep, but I guess it could be because that is one of the symptoms. But I wouldn't think it was with me. And I guess you need to know your own psyche and your own body to know if you can even have sleep paralysis because there's certain conditions that set sleep paralysis. Unfortunately for me, like my doctor says, I'm a healthy insomniac, so I never sleep more than 5 or 6 hours, unless like these drugs they got me on right now. But even then, my body don't want to sleep. I went to bed at 1 last night. I woke up 6:40 this morning like I was supposed to be going to work, which I was, but it's like, what the hell? I was waiting for the alarm clock. It's strange, but people do. It's especially in New Orleans. You'll be walking around tourists. I was walking with a tourist group headed to go get a steak on the Royal Street at the place. Has great steaks, got a great balcony view of the quarter. It's a great place to sit and eat. And I was just going up there, and I was just following the crowd, walking along. And 2 of my friends were with me. He said, "Who are you following?" I said, "I'm following them 3 women and that guy." He said, "Joe, there's nobody out here but us." I'm like, my ass, dude. There's 4 people in front of us, actually 5 people in front of us. I said, I'm following us. So I thought they were screwing with me. So I ran up to go, run through them to get them to move, and there wasn't nothing there. And I'm telling you, they look as real as y'all do right now, and there's nothing there. I was like, what the is going on here?
Dimensional bleed through, Joe.
It probably was
That's
dimensional bleed through. If I'd known that, I would have taken my
That's
arms
all.
under the ladies and went trotting with them. But I didn't. I got drugged back in the past. I don't want to do that either. But if that happens, my family will be multi-billionaires because I know
Mm,
everything about Coca-Cola, buying the Shell, buying the Exxon,
I don't know.
buying the Edison, buying the
Mm.
G. True, I'd be stinking rich.
But to go back to Sean's question, um, no, I do get it, but because I think I've done a lot of television, people stop and will just look at me and they're afraid to approach me. It's nothing ever relevant,
She does
really.
look
When they
like
come to
you know
me,
what?
they'll work up the nerve to come to me, and then everybody's got a story to tell, right? But I never look at it as anything. So
Okay.
that's my answer to your question.
And it is harder too when you have more exposure. I know, like when they did the Times Picayune article, I didn't think about it. So I leave that day. I go to work like I normally do. I go to the bank first. I walk in the bank and everybody in the bank is staring at me. I'm like, do I smell bad? Am I dressed funny? It's like one of these dreams where you're walking around naked or something. I'm like, what the hell? So the teller comes up. She said, Joey, I seen that article about you this morning. She said, everybody in the bank has. I said, oh, you mean the one with the big alien skull behind me right there? And she's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. She said, the VP wants to talk to you. I'm like, oh, shit, they're going to kick me out of their bank. He comes up, starts telling me about this experience he had. And then later on that day, I'm in the grocery store. Everybody in line is telling me what the experience they had. I got pulled over by a cop so he could tell me his experience he had. I was like, okay,
Everybody's got a story, though, right? That's
they did.
and
I,
then when you're out there, it's the way it is. Like, were you looking for something specific, Sean, with your question?
No, it just seems like it happens a lot with me.
Yeah, well, it seems like it happens to people. How can I say this
no,
without pissing everybody off? It seems like it happens to informed people or people who have done enough research or understand enough that it either gives off some kind of thing or maybe through some other kind of contact they've heard about you. And I'm not talking about TV or radio. I'm talking about spiritual alien or something like that because I know a lot of my psychic friends, or I should say my paranormal friends, they get approached a lot and they're not on TV or radio. They're just doing their thing. There's several groups down here that do their thing that have no fame or nothing for some reason. We were
yeah,
at the Beauvoir Manor, the Confederate presidency was, and I was tourists along with three of my friends, and they were ghost hunters. They wanted to go look and see how it would be to hunt to go do this place. I'm not kidding you, man. There must have been 14 people coming up to these three ladies and telling about what they
Yeah.
saw. It's weird.
I find that empaths will always sense you and find you and know that it's safe to come up to you. Um, that would be like that for me, anyways, is my experience. And oddly enough, happens a lot at the grocery store. And I haven't been to a grocery store in over a year, so it's not. But it would happen a lot where if I was in line paying at the cash where the cashiers do know me and they're talking, then someone will feel more comfortable. And I have had people come up to me and tap me on the shoulder and say, I know this is really strange, but I feel like you can help me. And I'd just be like, what the hell kind of thing, right? But then once they started speaking as an empath and as a medium, I was open, of course, to helping them, right? And I'm okay with it. It doesn't bother me. I mean, that's why we do this. We're there to help other people.
Exactly.
It's
But
hard when
sometimes
it's for silly things, where they
but
know
sometimes the
that.
spirits will guide people to
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
That's happened to me where people have messaged me and said my PVR came on and you were on it and it kept coming on and replaying and they
Yeah.
were in a really bad paranormal situation. I imagine it's the same, if you have, like, again, a grieving parent, for example, okay,
Yeah.
because that's what you primarily do. I mean, their loved ones would probably guide them to like they just, I think you get a lot of help from the other side.
Yeah, you get a lot of help, and it works both ways too. Sometimes it's on me to go to them, which I
Mm.
don't do often because I'm petrified, because I was shot down once. And I felt like I was being intrusive when I was sadly following my heart. And I don't think you should necessarily go up to somebody and freak them out like that. That one's a tough one. We're not Teresa Caputo. We're not being followed by cameras, and this isn't 170 takes of one read. This is life. So it's a tough one, but I could understand why they come up to you, Sean, because you just exude kindness. Like you're
What?
so
No.
calm.
I'm cranky.
No, not you, Sean. I said
I really am.
no, but
I only
said,
venture out when I'm
Sean,
on a mission. I have something to do.
I love
I'm
that.
I
picky
want
to
to
kids.
approach
So.
Michelle. She scares
Yeah.
the crap out of me.
I was
Right?
I was
There you go.
I was referring to Sean though.
Oh,
Oh,
yes.
Sean's a sexy beast, man. So I'd talk to him.
That's
You're
it,
you're so like you just exude peace and kindness and warmth, and that's what I pick up from you. You're very kind, you're very sensitive, and you can see that you're empathic and you have a big heart. So I could see why people feel comfortable to come up to you,
Hmm.
you know. And if it bothers you, there's ways that you can shield that and turn that off.
Well, it's kind of funny because a lot of times when we're touring or in places like that, there's usually the iCar groups with me, and they're really extremely protective of me. I mean, they are, sometimes overprotective. And I'm like, guys, girls, I've been fighting my own battles for a long time. You don't have to be, no, no, and they'll start screening people, which I get pissed about. I said, don't screen anyone because you never know who you screen. Oh, but we've been doing this a long time for you. I said, yeah. And I don't mind them talking to people ahead of time before they see me. That actually gives me a better understanding of what's going on a lot of times. But if I connect with somebody, I want to talk to them myself. And I can see somebody and say, okay, I want to talk to them. Or I want to talk to them. Or like when I was at the last Laughlin conference, I was there, and Barbara Lamb was there. And she was giving a class, and they were talking and talking. And she looked at me for some reason, and I said, well, can I say something? She said, sure. And I talked for about 15 minutes, and everyone quit listening to her. Then I felt bad. And then I had a bunch of people follow me around the conference all week, which was fine. But then Barbara called me. She said, did you do that on purpose to steal? I said, no, boo. I said, I was listening to you hypnotize people for the last 10 years. I don't necessarily agree with her methods all the time, but I didn't have anything against her personally. And it wasn't a shot at her to take any support away from her. But, I walked up on Bud Hopkins and David Jacobs, and they were having this conversation. We got into this 3-way conversation about alien abduction. I said, well, I know more than both of y'all, don't you? Oh, Whitley was there too, so he was standing in the background. This became a conversation. Didn't get heated, but it was a good conversation. Before we looked, all three of us looked up at the same time. The whole entire room was packed, and everybody was quiet listening to us. And this was not supposed to be, because they were doing book signings, and we just got to talking. And, all three of us have been doing alien abduction for a long time, so it was a very interesting conversation. And one lady said, God, I wish I recorded this. I said, shit, I wish I would have recorded this. But it's one of them things. And, I get people who tell me they've seen me on ships, or they recognize my voice, or they recognize this or recognize that. And I was in D.C. giving a lecture when these 3 ladies came in and seen me, and one of them fainted. And I was like, God damn, I must be particularly ugly today. And I was giving a lecture on MILABs, military abductions. I was playing Melinda Leslie and Katarina Wilson, some interviews I did with some hardcore MILABs. And she just fainted, and the 2 friends were with her, get her up, so they get in the front seats. They start watching and talking. Nobody answers questions. And I always like to cut my lectures in half because, if I got an hour and a half, I want to give at least 40 minutes of Q&A. Because people come there a lot of times to talk to us, not just to listen to us. So, and I think sometimes the conferences lose that. Oh, do your hour and a half, or do your hour, do your whatever, and go. But that's what they're really there for. They really want to ask questions. They come with questions, and I'm what I'm there for. I want to answer questions. And it works out real good that way. And but she just fainted. When it was over, I was sitting on the edge of the stage waiting for the guy to come up. I think Steve Bissett was coming up next, and I was just sitting there waiting. And they 3 walked up to me, and they knew stuff about me there's no way they could have known unless they see me in person somewhere. I mean, they knew things about me that, shit, I doubt Linda knew some of the things about me. And it was kind of strange, actually. And we've been friends ever since then. We've done a lot of regression work, and they're lifelong. They're actually what we would call communicators in their sense. They're people out there spreading the word. It's like spreading the gospel, spreading the word. And somebody asked me about them the other day, are they God-fearing? I said, they most certainly are. I said, there's no law that says you can't believe in God if you believe in aliens or ghosts or demons or any of that stuff. Because Southern Cross used to tell me, well, if you believe in these things, you're going to burn in hell. I said, really? I said, I guess I got a special place for your ass then. He's like, it's freaked him out. But I don't believe in any of that. I don't think God cares about any of that stuff. If he created it, I don't see why we can't interact with it. or if it's a creation from one of his creations, I still don't see why we can't interact with it. So I would think there would be some warning label that says God will get pissed off. Do not interact with it. But no, I've never seen that. So it's strange, and it is strange how many of my science friends that turn their back on any type of religion or any type of belief would be a better way of saying it. They it just I guess it's hard for them to have science and still believe in something that you can't prove. But it's just how it is. We live in a universe that there's lots of stuff we can't prove. We still can't even prove the Higgs boson, even though we created one. We can't even prove black holes because we still can't see them other than when we do a remake of them. It's still naked to any of our equipment. There's lots of things that we know exist that we can't prove. So just sometimes I think science needs to remember that. And sometimes they need to remember that, hey, most people are not lying, that something happened to them and they need to understand what happened to them. I get lots of reports of UFOs flying around. I've said this a lot over the years, and I always tell people, if you've seen a UFO, you've been taken. It's that simple. If you've seen a UFO, because not everybody sees them, and not everybody's going to ever see them. I don't think anybody sees them but contactees. And I can pretty much prove it, but when I get into that conversation, it pisses off half the ufology community. Oh, no, you're wrong. Really? I said, and then I'll start off with 22 million people in Mexico City. 1 million people saw it. Why didn't the other 21 million people see it? New York City seen it. A dozen, 2 dozen people seen the thing hovering over the city. Nobody else seen it out of 8 million people. Phoenix, Arizona. Y'all make all kind of stuff out of Phoenix. 2 million people there. How many seen it? About 2,000. Why didn't the rest of them see it? And this was on national news. All of these cases I'm talking about right now made national news. Or the Belgium sightings of the Black Triangles. Flying over 5 different major cities. 11 million different people. 36,000 people called it. Nobody else saw it. Why? What, are they scared to see it? They just didn't see it? I mean, the mayor was on TV in Mexico City talking about what was hanging over the city, and still only 1 million people saw it. There was pastors, lawyers talking about it, because I think you have to be taken to see it. That's what the trigger is. It's either, hey, I'm dropping you off, or hey, I just picked you up. And I think in the Mexico City and the Arizona cases, those were mass abductions. They were putting them back in mass. And that's why they were being seen by X amount of people. But the field does not like when I talk about that, because that excludes a lot of researchers, and they don't want to be excluded. They don't want to think they can never see a UFO. And I tell them all the time, I said, anybody can see an unidentified flying object. Shit, nobody knows what's flying in the sky all the time. Just go look for some lights up there and you've seen something unidentified. Because for some reason, they have never learned to break apart what an alien craft is and a UFO is. UFO is just a UFO. It's an unidentified flying object. It could be one of the million different things. It could be swamp gas. That's why it took 2.5, almost 3 years of atmospheric anomalies. I took almost 3 years of it. And that's why I did, because I wanted to know, what swamp gas look like? What does this look like? What does ball lightning look like? I want to know things that I can eliminate. And that's why I also have JPL tracking on my computer. And I have, Milan JPL on my computer. And JTrack is what they call it. And that's why I have the airport monitor on my computer. I want to be able to tell in real time. I want to eliminate things. I want to know it's not a satellite. I want to know it's not an airplane. And I want to know it's not an atmospheric anomaly. When I take them 3 out, there ain't much left it can be. And it's the best way to do research, because it's hard for anybody to go, what was aircraft? Nope, nothing flying there. Look, you can look right here. Nothing flying. Oh, it's satellite. Oh, nope, look, nothing here. Nope, no satellite. Oh, it's air. Oh, no, it's not. And then I also have 2 years advanced aircraft recognition from the U.S. Navy. Yeah, I'm telling you. If I'm telling you it's not a UFO, it's not a UFO. If I'm telling you it is, you better get worried, because somebody just got taken. But they don't like that, because it does exclude people. So when I'm speaking at conferences, I try not to bring it up. It's hard not to, because people are going to ask about it. But, like the runners of the conference asked me not to do it because it excludes too many people attending their conference. So they're like, well, Joe, everybody wants to think they can see a UFO. I said, well, not everybody can. And maybe we need to start thinking about that so we can find the people who can and find out what the hell's going on. But now, who knows? And then I've had professional ufologists tell me, oh, all alien abductions are sleep paralysis. And then I'll ask them, do you know what sleep paralysis is? Can you name even 5 things that sleep? No. I said, well, how can you say that? Well, because that's what I heard. Well, if you don't even know what it is, how can you say that? I wonder sometimes about people. I think a lot of people get in both these professions for the sheer fame of it, because there ain't that much money in it. So There is a little bit, but not like people should have. I mean, well, we got six of us up here. What got us all in? Michelle, what you got into it for? Something came ghosty and scared you one night? No, you probably scared it. Casper came walking across Michelle's house. She went, boo, that was it. She was hooked.
Wouldn't stand a chance.
She loves everything haunted, so you must have seen something that got you going.
What? Me?
Mm-hmm.
No,
What
I
was
don't.
it that drew you into this?
I do what?
Doing
The
before?
paranormal?
Yeah.
Oh, I've just been around it my whole life. So, always seeing things for as long as I can remember from the time I was a child. I went on a ghost tour once my kids were older. I figured, okay, it's safe enough to do. I always knew it wasn't a good blend to have children and paranormal. I grew up around that. I came from a pretty horrific experience myself and basically just decided to, I mean, I was able to help myself of having a demonic infestation or oppression. So I thought the natural thing to do would be to pay it forward and teach other people how I did it. And, and then it just snowballed from there. So, and of course, anybody who's involved in the paranormal, for the most part, will eventually go off to ufology, which is pretty much, when I started watching them crisscross over in some of my cases, I started thinking, well, are they just using the same portals or is there something more? Sean, I see you getting itchy in your chair. What?
No, it's like 90 degrees in my attic, buddy.
Oh.
I'm wet.
Yeah, it's got to be warm right now. Joseph, just because you've never seen a UFO does not mean you're not an abductee, by the way.
But I like what Joe was talking about earlier. The signs that, in the paranormal field, 1 year you learn religion, the next year you learn about demons, the next, you know what I mean? And honest to Pete, I believe now, after a year, I was abducted by an alien.
You might have been.
Well, there we go. There's a breakthrough.
It just like you opened my eyes, Joe. Honest to Pete, when you said that, it was like, because that's how, when I was investigating the paranormal and then helping people and teaching people, it was like every year on the same date, I was taken from Wicca, witches, to angels, to demons, all the way down the road. And when you said that, I was like, wow.
It's kind of how it works. I call it taking the tour, but because honestly, for me, it kind of worked for that. Even though I was meeting people who were having these weird things, I was doing tarot for a long time, and then I designed my own reading. I designed my own deck and my own reading style, which people still use today. It's a great style. If you want to know anything, it's a much more detailed way of reading cards. I found out later in life I didn't need the cards to read people, but they're a great tool for people who have the ability but don't understand it. And then I'll tell you this: if you want to read tarot, you can read the book all you want. You need to feel what the card means to you, not what the damn book says.
Right.
The book's going to throw you off half the time.
Yes.
Yes. Learn your cards, and know this, ladies and gentlemen: don't never buy your own deck. A deck has to be gifted to you. If you buy your own deck, you're never going to be as good as you could. Deck has to be gifted to you.
What if you see the deck behind another deck and you didn't even know it was there? It wasn't visible from the other side.
If the deck truly calls for you, you can buy it, but you should ask a friend to buy it for you.
I've done that. I've gone into a shop and it wasn't visible to anyone on this side of the counter. And I said, I want that blah, blah, blah deck. And she came around the front and said, how the hell did you even see that? And I just knew it was there and that I needed it.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes they do pick you.
Sometimes they do call you.
Yeah.
Sometimes they do pick you.
So.
Hey, Lee, I see you down there. See, Leah she's a lifelong abductee. She's, and it's going to come out. What's weird about all this is it emerges itself in people's lives at different times. So for young people, it doesn't come out as much as it does for older people. Mainly, I think, because it's easier mentally. Leah's pretty steady in her brain, so she can handle it a little bit more. But even then, it's something, if you're not careful, can consume your life. You can catch yourself spending a lot of money and a lot of time on it. Same thing with ghosties or demons and stuff like that. A friend of mine who became demonologist, he tells me all the time, he says, shit, if I'd have kept his money, I could be retired now. And he's right, I could be too. But it's worth what I learned. I can't ever say it's not. And then a guy asked me just yesterday, he said, am I going to take what I know to my grave? I said, no. I said, there's other people who know what I know. I said, there's members in ICAR that have access to the database or have access to my brain or whatever you want to call it. I said, because a lot of stuff I do keep in my head. We do keep it somewhere on paper, but like the server next to me is not a connected server. It's not connected to anything. So I get stuff, I transfer it. I'll disconnect this server from the internet, and whatever data is in, I transfer it to that one. Then I reconnect this one. And then here, if somebody wants it, I will actually put it on a disk with an encryption code and mail it to them. And that way we don't have to worry about somebody. And I use like 128-bit encryption. Even damn Pentagon don't have trouble with that one. So it works real good. They have the other code. I have a code. It's codes we give off to each other when we're traveling and stuff. So it's a good way of doing it, and it's a good way to keep people's names safe. Because I've said this a million times. I have no problem sharing my data with the government. I really don't. I just don't want to give them people's names. I don't feel that the sharing of names. I don't think they need the people's names because all they're going to go do is mail them. So there's no reason to. So this way, they get some information. I get some favors, and the contact of your abductee is kept safe. And that's really what this is all about. Because I want to learn and I want to understand, but I don't want to understand at someone else's inconvenience. I want to understand because we've done the right things. And no one's ever built an organization like we have. No one put up abduction criteria. No one did the blood types or the grace. Nobody's ever done that but us. I hear people try to take credit, which I'm not going to get into names tonight, but there's several people in the field that would like to take credit, but they can't because they'll be taking credit and then I'll be speaking somewhere and then people hear what's really going on. And then when they're confronted, they can't say it's theirs. Because I've seen a couple of people when I did Ancient Aliens the first time. I seen a couple of people in the field say, "Oh yeah." No one had even talked about blood types. No one. The first time I released it was about 14 years ago on Coast to Coast, and then the second time was 14 years or 12 years later on Ancient Aliens. And then the very next Ancient Aliens, they had Linda Moulton Howe on talking about how she discovered the blood. Even the guys at Prometheus were laughing because they knew me from earlier when we had done it earlier. She God damn, I bet you got pissed, Joe. I said, I didn't get pissed. I said, no one believes that crazy woman anyway. She reminds me of, no, I ain't going to say it, but anyway. I think a lot of stuff. I found one thing about both fields is that if you're going to do TV or radio or anything like that, you're only as relevant as your last big thing. After you've gone on and done something, people just move on to something else. And I'm real fortunate because I do a lot of different things and the organization's got its hands in a lot of stuff, but I'm not always about going on TV. I got to be honest. I've done not as much as the redhead over here, but I've done probably 20, 30 shows over the years, a couple of documentaries and 2 movies. And one of them we're still waiting to come out, Cable Green. So it's I don't know, it's hard to explain, but I'm in it for selfish reasons. I'm truly in it for selfish reasons. I don't mind sharing with everybody, but I started it because I had this thirst to know about me and these other people. I just wanted to know, and I didn't want to have to wait for Joe Schmo down the line to tell me, or Michael Boopy's over there to tell me. I wanted to get the answers myself because then I could trust the answers that came to me. I know y'all know that because y'all all do research yourselves, so you can rely on people to X amount, but then you always got to wonder if somebody has alternative reasons for getting into the field or coming up with the data they came up with. To put it in perspective, I got called about a group that said we were all wrong, that O positive was the most abductions, which I was hoping they were right, to be honest with you. But their sampling was only their board members and another dozen people. I was like, and all their board members, by the way, were O positive and brown eye. Of course, that's what they were going to say. But when I put together what we did, there's 40,000 people on the websites and another 36,000 from the ICAR database. Right now, it's sitting at about 80,000 people that have taken the blood type thing. And 66% come out with Rh negative blood. Nobody's doing that. Nobody's trying to even make it like that. It was stunning. When I was working with the 3 hematologists, they were stunned by it. They were just stunned. They didn't know what to think. And even they were kind of like, what the hell? And then when we started getting into this, how many leaders and people in control of us, from movie stars to athletes to world leaders, had green and blue eyes and Rh negative, it was not right. It was too many of them in these positions when it only makes up 15% of the world's population. You got to kind of wonder what the hell. something's just not right there. I mean, 15% of the world's rule the rest of the world. And by the way, you RHNA, you're doing a piss poor job of it, just so I can tell you ahead of time. Oh, I'm sorry, did I say that out loud? I'm sorry. Let the old positive get back in charge. Obviously, y'all doing a bad job. I don't know. And then, there's all this other crazy stuff that goes on. I'll tell you one of the craziest things I ever saw. I was talking to a guy about sleep paralysis, and he said, I want you to videotape it because I keep having it. I'm like, so I said, well, why don't we videotape it live? He said, what do you mean? I said, I want to watch it live. I said, I'm going to hook you up, and I'm going to send it to my house. That way I can zip over here if something goes on. So we got him on. The camera goes off. It's like 20 minutes after he goes to sleep, camera goes off. We had also sprinkled baby powder around on the floor to see if there was any footprints. I put it on the bed to see if there's any handprints or anything like that. So we're going through this, and the camera goes on. I rush over there, and he's just gone. He's nowhere to be seen. Nowhere to be seen. So we're all taking pictures, and there's no footprint, but there was a 4-fingered, or I should say a 3-fingered, 1 thumb handprint right next to where his pillow was. You could see the imprint of his head, and then you could see like the left hand, because I figured that's what it was, because the way the thumb was on the pillow, and that's all you see. And then so we hung around for like 3 hours, nothing. Tried calling him on his cell phone, nothing. And then he calls me. He said, what were you doing at my house? I said, we were looking for you. And so I showed him the videotape, and I showed him the tape we took of his house and what we found. So then he hands me his cell phone. He said, my cell phone keeps saying,
Wow.
That's one way to get him to stop talking.
Wow. Holy crap, man.
You fell off the box.
Yeah, you did.
That is
Wow,
so funny.
where'd you
I'm
go,
so
Joe?
sorry. I'm so sorry.
Jesus.
I was just gonna say, I think Michael was abducted, and now I believe Joe just
I
was.
think Joe's gone too.
Joe's gone too, man.
Uh-oh.
My dad actually said, I didn't find out until after he passed away from my sister, that he had several abduction cases.
You're kidding.
Yeah, it was amazing to sit there and find out something about my father I never knew. He had so much about the abduction cases that he, confessed to my sister. Then my sister, after my father passed, and I was recovering from a near-death experience and losing my left leg, going, what? How the hell did I not know anything about this? It got to the point where there was one abduction scenario where my sister said my dad wound up in this big, huge room with a big globe around it. A lot of people were standing around this orb. And he knew 1 or 2 people. And there was this one guy he knew that was associated, or was an old girlfriend of the woman that he was dating at the time, said, you need to tell this to Nana, or she will never know that this will be true or not. And then I don't know what he told my dad, but the story goes that what he told his girlfriend about this person, which turned out to be dead at the time, was absolutely true. And his girlfriend just absolutely, her jaw was on the floor.
Yeah,
Oh
that
my
guy,
God.
yeah, that kind of stuff.
Make
always
sure you
freaks me out.
document that. You write it down so it
Unfortunately,
continues.
guys, we are way over time, so we got to get
Joe,
out of
the
here.
Grace just brought Joe back.
Oh, I don't know what that was. That's
I
what
think you got abducted like Michael.
Michael
I
got
know.
abducted earlier.
Michael was being probed at the moment, I think. But Michael, if you're listening, we know what's going on. Don't try to lie about it. But Michael will be back on what is today? Today's Tuesday, huh? No, today's Monday. Shit.
It's Monday.
Sorry, guys. My brain is gone. I've been telling customers that all day. My brain's been fried for a week now. But Michael will be back tomorrow. Michelle and Amelia will be back on Wednesday. Sean will be back Thursday. Another Sean will be back Saturday. So y'all all come by and hang out and check out everybody. But we got to get out of here because the Horsefly Chronicles are coming up next. And they're probably like, oh, no, Joe's not going to let us do any time now. I'm just kidding, guys. And y'all don't look like that anyway. I'm the scary one here. But everyone stay tuned for Horsefly Chronicles. God, I'm tongue-tied today.
You're all welcome.
Yes.
Coffee.
Yes. You know what? I might make some coffee. Actually,
Folgers.
I didn't get enough. Yes, Folgers make great coffee. And
Coronation.
Coronation makes great cream, too.
Yep.
But
There
anyway,
you go.
we got to get for sure. Sean, I'm going to talk to you in a little bit. You're going to be around? Sean?
Yeah, I am. You gonna hook us up like this with live stream?
Yeah, what I'll do is give me about 10, 15 minutes to get them on, and I'll hit you on this StreamYard here while they're on the other StreamYard.
All right,
So,
brother. I'll be
all
waiting.
right, see you in a minute, guys, ladies. Thanks for hanging out. Sean G,
Bye,
nice to
bye,
see you in the
ladies.
group. Michael,
Bye,
Edward, getting
Sean. Bye,
pro.
ladies.
Scream, Leah, nice to see you stop by tonight. Nice to see everybody in the audience. Joe, Joseph, whatever that one is. Perdito. What is that?
Pedro.
Cadillac
Pedro.
Rider. Is that what that is? Anyway,
Bye-bye.
y'all, thanks for all
Good
showing up, and we'll see y'all soon. Good night, everybody.
Bye,
Good night,
guys.
everyone.
night.
Boop, boop, boop.